Hello, welcome to the live stream. ChiefsRaysBolts here, joined alongside A's Raiders Dubs Sharks. Been a hot minute, but we are excited to be back. We're talking about Stanley Cup playoffs 2022. It's going to be an interesting one. There's a really dope field of teams, so I'll be excited to watch this one.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I'm glad they went back to the traditional format. I think it shows kind of the better teams, especially considering I totally agree with the field of teams. We have a central division that had 5 playoff teams now, and I mean, pretty impressive. So I think we definitely have a lot of competitive teams going at it. And unfortunately the Sharks aren't in it, but for the third year in a row, but I'm going to watch as a objective fan, and I'm hyped for it.
Yeah, I mean, it starts tomorrow, and if you're on the East Coast, then it starts today because we're past midnight now. But one incredible thing that I wanted to point out is the fact that this is the first time ever that, let me count this up real quick, that 8 teams from the Eastern Conference finish the season with 100 or more points. 8 teams in just the Eastern Conference have finished with over 100 points. That's incredible to me. And so the Eastern Conference, it's going to be an absolute bloodbath. And whoever is going to the Stanley Cup final this year on the Eastern side of it, they're truly deserving of it. If whoever makes it there, they're deserving of it. You had to go through a field of other 100-win teams. That's insane.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially the Atlantic, your guys' division was really good. But I agree, the Metropolitan really surprised me as well. I didn't expect teams like the Capitals to get over 100 points. The Penguins were really good, and I agree. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think we're going to see a big difference in competitiveness because the Western Conference, I mean, with all due respect to the Predators, I don't think they're, necessarily at the same caliber like a team the Penguins would be. So I just think in general, that's a good point. The Eastern Conference is just tearing it up, and teams that are probably deserving of the playoffs that missed it would maybe make it in the West. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, speaking of the West, it's the first time ever that the Golden Knights have missed the playoffs, and I'm sure you got to be somewhat happy about that. Considering that the Knights are hated.
Yeah.
I feel like the Knights are hated by the Sharks fan base more than any other fan base. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I'm super happy about it. I mean, literally every year for the past how many years has it been? 4 or 5 years?
I think it's it's crazy.
Yeah, I've literally just been rooting for the Knights to lose, and now I don't have to worry about that, so it lifts some weight off my shoulders, so to speak. We were kind of the reason they missed the playoffs too, because we're a team that only had 77 points, and to beat them in overtime in the second to last game of the season to secure the fact that they were not going to make the playoffs, it's a really good feeling. And I know the Sharks were determined to knock them out, and they did. And yeah, I'm happy the Knights lost, and it kind of goes to show how weak the Pacific Division was. Only 3 teams made it, and I mean, it just wasn't very strong. Yeah. That's why I kind of thought they would make it.
So, while 8 Eastern Conference teams had 100 points or more, only 5 in the Western Conference. So the Kings were 1 point shy, which the Kings had a really nice rebound year. I don't know what's going on over there, but something's going right.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, no, okay, so this is going to be a first round preview, if you will. I highly doubt we'll talk about, who's going to win the second round in this hypothetical scenario where these 2 teams play, because it gets too complicated. We'll, if you're cool with doing a second round preview, then semifinal, kind of like how we did last season, I'm down for that. I think that would be the better way to go about that. So let's just get started on the first round matchups, but real quick, Casey, I have to ask you, let's just beat around it, right? Who do you want to win the Cup this year?
So I kind of just arbitrarily picked the Minnesota Wild because they never won it before, and they're from the West, and they're also pretty competitive. So and I also like their uniforms. And one final thing, they're sort of related to the Sharks in a way, so like historically, I won't go like I made a video about it, like with the North Stars and what happened and all that. So there's sort of like that aspect of it. I think the Wild, like in a perfect world, would be my favorite. But I'm not super tied in or connected to the Eastern Conference teams as much. But like for your sake, and it would be pretty cool to see a three-peat. I mean, the Lightning it would be sick to see them win it again.
You think so? Because I feel like most people, I feel like everybody who isn't a Lightning fan hopes the Lightning lose as early as possible because they're tired of seeing them win every year. But that's just the nature of sports fans. So I get it. But
yeah, I mean, I feel like it's not a New England Patriots situation where it's like everyone hates this team that's always winning. Because the Lightning, it's like, they're a good team. They developed like almost all their players, it seems like. So I'm not like envious of them. Like they never did anything to the Sharks either. So it's like I don't have any like chip on my shoulder against them. And so yeah, I mean it would be cool, but I also think like it'd be cool to see a Western team win it, like just for representation, if you will.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. So Wild for a Western representative and Lightning for an Eastern representative. I dig it.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's just first round matchup. This one is really, really weird to me. Calgary versus Dallas. Dallas makes their return to the playoffs for the first time since that 2020 bubble when, we all know what happened with them that season.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you have winning this?
Give me Calgary in 5. I mean, Calgary, they're in our division.
They're dominant.
They're dominant. Somehow we beat them a couple times, but, like, I think that was a fluke. They're a really good team. They, obviously are the third best team in the West to begin with. I guess I could see Dallas maybe stealing one at home, but I just don't see how Calgary loses this. Their goaltending is pretty insane. Their defense is really good. They're a scrappy team. I didn't expect them to win the division, but I'm not surprised that they did. And so, yeah, give me Calgary in 5.
I also have Calgary. I just don't think that Dallas can and I've seen Dallas play this year. They've played very tough physical hockey against the Lightning, at least in the games that I've seen, and so they won't be taken down with ease. But I think Calgary is just the better team, and I don't really see them losing. I don't know how you could go out in the first round after the season Calgary had. So yeah, I'm taking Calgary.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fair. Like, I think just Dallas barely got in. Like, honestly, the Sharks helped them get in by beating Vegas. And I think Dallas is a team that's sort of on the rise. So, like, I wouldn't say they're, like, having necessarily a great future. But I think, like, they sort of just snuck in the playoffs, sort of like Nashville did. And I don't really see them, like, thriving that well in the playoffs. I think it could be a sweep, honestly. But I think they might get lucky in one game. And so, yeah.
Well, I'm on the opposite side of that, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas can pull it off. If they can pull off an upset against Calgary. Like I don't think it's gonna happen, but I'm just saying if it does happen, it wouldn't surprise me. Again, they're a tough physical team, and so I don't really know. I don't know how the matchups were this year between the two. And I don't really want to waste time researching that, but yeah, I mean I got Calgary in 6.
All right, yeah, sounds good. So next would be LA and Oilers.
That's what would be next, which is another interesting matchup. It's the matchup of the former Gretzky teams. So
that's a good point. I mean, for me, like as much as I'd like to see LA win, even though they're sort of rivals with us, and like a lot of Sharks fans like hate the Kings, and like I do kind of hate the Kings, but I think it would be kind of cool if they pulled this off. It's sort of a Cinderella story. But similar to Calgary, I just don't see how you can count out Edmonton. I mean, Edmonton wasn't quite as good as Calgary. But to your point, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings won. Like, I could see this series going to 7 games. And the Oilers choked last year, and despite being a really good team early on. And so I think give me Oilers in 6. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings pushed it to 7 or even just won the series in less than 7 games. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to count out a team that has Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, and it's just such a good lineup. They, I saw them play this year, and they're just really dominant. But the Kings have a good, solid lineup, and they've surprised a lot of people this year. They had a really good rebound season. They were pretty bad last year, and so I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings won. But yeah, I think Edmonton 6.
The Kings, as far as the Western Conference goes, they are like the surprise team coming out the West.
Yeah.
They've been pretty trash these past couple years, and so I didn't really pay attention to how they were doing, or for a lot of teams for that matter. And so to see them in the playoffs a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh shit, they're gonna make the playoffs probably. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like they're I haven't seen them play, but I assume they got to be good. They have 99 points to make the playoffs, and you're talking about McDavid and Draisaitl and just that powerhouse top line for the Oilers, and that's where it goes wrong. Top line. Who do you have after that? Nobody. This is exactly why the Oilers have not gone very far in recent years. You have you have arguably two of the best players in the NHL. And I don't think anybody argues that McDavid is the best in the NHL. In today's NHL, McDavid's probably the best player. You could argue Matthews or whoever, but I think McDavid's the best. The problem is he doesn't have any help. I mean, the Oilers, they're behind McDavid, behind Draisaitl. Who else do they have, really? They stumble every year in the playoffs because of this. I don't know how far they went last year. It was either a first or second round exit. I know that.
I think they got swept last year, right?
Was it?
I'm remembering
the Jets. Yeah, I think the Jets swept them in the first round. Yeah, and that's exactly the problem. Every year they have a good season, because McDavid is McDavid. I went to a Lightning Oilers game at Amalie a couple months ago. McDavid had two damn goals. Man, he's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's not gonna backpack the entire Edmonton team through the playoffs. No player is good enough to single handedly. It's a team sport, and so
right.
I have the Oilers winning this one. However, I don't think the Kings have what it takes.
Yeah.
But Oilers are going to run into trouble in the second round, I think. It doesn't matter who they play. I think they're going to get their 10 minutes of success here against the Kings and fizzle out in the second round. That's what I predict. And I don't think it'll come as a shock, really. I mean, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. I think that's a good way of looking at it. I mean, Edmonton, like similar to some of the other teams, like in this group of teams, I think they're capable of winning a first round series, maybe even a second round series. But what's going to happen when McDavid gets tired and they have to go into these like later series that go into 6 or 7 games? It's just not happening. So I agree. I mean, I think the Kings are good. They might make it hard for McDavid and Draisaitl, but yeah, I think Edmonton's just a lot better.
I have Edmonton. I think this is going to be a 7-game series.
Yeah.
I'm going to just call that shot right now. But at the same time, the Oilers could also sweep, and they could also get swept. Nothing would surprise me for this matchup.
It's true.
Nashville and Colorado.
I don't think anyone's taking Nashville. I mean, Colorado's the best team in the Western Conference. They're one of the best teams in the NHL. They're hungry. They won the President's Trophy last year and, lost in the playoffs. I mean, Nashville, I've seen them, the Sharks play them quite frequently. So I've seen, I've observed both Colorado and the Predators. And I mean, the Avalanche are just so much better. If you think about it, they won, 11 more games than the Predators. And like no one is taking Nashville. Like as much as it would be kind of cool to see Nashville win it, they're not. They barely snuck in the playoffs. I believe they're the worst team by points in the playoffs. That's true. Actually, I think they're the worst team by points in the playoffs. I think based on hockey being a luck sort of based sport when it comes to
luck is huge.
Wins and losses. Yeah, I could see Nashville like winning one game, maybe like out of nerves for Colorado or something. So I got Colorado Avalanche in 5.
Yeah, well, Colorado's very fortunate that they did not win the President's Trophy this year.
Yeah.
Because they were heavy favorites last year, and lost to the Knights in the second round. I mean, I think they were up two games to none too, and then got four games in a row. The Knights would go on. Yeah, that was pretty remarkable to see that.
Yeah.
So I have Avalanche clearly because I don't think Nashville is going to be competitive in this. I think that's just if you're an NHL fan, that's just common knowledge. So I have Avalanche in 5.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I mean, so far we've gone with the teams with a better record, but I also think it's fair. It's a fair assessment because
it's a very fair assessment.
With the way that they were doing the playoffs this year, it's very much like, I don't know. I want to say like skill-based matchmaking to an extent, like with the 2 and 3 playing each other. But then you also have the 1 seed playing like the last seed, which is, in my opinion, pretty interesting. So I think like that sort of shakes things up, and I honestly think it's definitely very fair looking at these teams. So yeah,
for sure. Now this next matchup, Minnesota Wild versus St. Louis Blues. This is going to be one of the most competitive first-round matchups. These two teams, division rivals, they hate each other. They were very, very close together in points by the end of the year, so they're evenly skilled. It's just going to be a fun matchup here.
Yeah, this is my first upset. Even though I said I wanted Minnesota to win the finals, it doesn't mean, or the Stanley Cup, doesn't mean I think they necessarily will. This is my first upset. I know St. Louis is really scrappy, especially when it comes to playoff time. They've done upsets before in past years. So I think, this is going to be, like you said, a very competitive series. I got to go into 7 games. I'm St. Louis in 7, but I think it could go either way. It's going to be a really good series, though. I mean, honestly, like the goaltending matchup and then the defenses of these teams, they hate each other. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I don't really know enough about the two teams to give like an educated prediction on this. I'm just going to go on a whim and say St. Louis because I like them better than Minnesota. I have a little bit of a liking towards St. Louis, just being a Missouri team and all that, and Pat Maroon, of course, and his history there. So there's that aspect. I like the Blues here. I think easy 7-game series.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these teams weren't far off from each other record-wise. The Wild won 4 more games, and they had 4 more points. I mean, it's not a big difference. So I think it could come down to, a bunch of overtime games. I think it could go down to. I mean, I think it's just going to be a really hard-fought series, and I think this is probably going to be the most competitive series in the first round, at least.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So shifting over to the Eastern Conference now, we have the Washington Capitals against the President's Trophy winning Florida Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, similar to the Colorado series, I don't see how anyone would take the Capitals. I mean, Florida had a crazy season. They're the best team in hockey for a reason. That being said, though, it was similar to last year. They were really good. I don't know if historically with the President's Trophy winner, they always somehow run into trouble. I don't know, if it's bad luck or whatever, but I think they're going to get past the first round. I mean, the Capitals, I think, they were the worst team to make it from the East as well, which would make sense based on the matchup. So, the Panthers are just a really good team. I mean, I didn't watch them much this season, but I always would hear about how good they are. I know you probably dislike them because,
I'm supposed to dislike them because it's an interstate rival. I'm supposed to dislike them, and I do dislike them because many reasons. They are a dirty team, or at least they played dirty against us in the playoffs last year. They played dirty against us a lot this year. And the rivalry is very real right now. I can tell you that right now. The rivalry is very real. This is the first successful season the Panthers have had in about 20 years, so it's understandable that suddenly they have fans down there. And on top of that, I'm just saying, like, before this year, FLA Live Arena down in Sunrise, Florida, that used to be Amalie Arena South. Okay, it was littered with Lightning fans. It was a sea of blue in that place because we are the real Florida team, and
Yeah.
it's kind of embarrassing that they get the title of Florida when they lost to the other Florida team last year in the playoffs.
I think that.
But they are an absolutely fantastic team this year, and if the Lightning lose in the playoffs to any team that isn't the Panthers, I wouldn't mind seeing the Panthers win it all, just because the Florida representation. I think it's very overdue that hockey in Florida gets the spotlight it deserves, and so the Lightning having back-to-back championships, that's definitely grown interest. And then the fact that Florida is the President's Trophy winner this year, it's kind of ironic. The ice hockey, the NHL, is Canadian, and Minnesota, and all those northern state, the league that dominates those regions. It's Florida. It's the Sunshine State, shining the spotlight on the league these past couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, I think definitely, Florida, they have something to prove, right? I mean, they're in the same state as the back-to-back Cup champs, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Then they lost to you guys in the playoffs last year. They were clearly angry, hence the dirty play. And I just think, they have something to prove. And I mean, they're the President's Trophy champions, of course. I think, stats would say that they're going to be the champs, but at the same time, stuff happens to the President's winner, which is honestly kind of a strange superstition. But, I think they're a very talented team. They're definitely the team to beat, I think. And I know we haven't made our official predictions for the Cup championship, but I think they're sort of my favorite right now as the champs, because, I mean, like everything you said, it's just they're very competitive. They're very dominant right now. So,
yeah. They have been kind of a bitch to the Lightning this year. They have not been an easy team to take down as of late, and they deserve. I mean, they've been a fantastic team this season. Talking about the superstition of the President's Trophy, there was a point in time where I believed in a lot of different sports superstitions, like the Madden curse, until Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl the same year he was on the cover. Then that kind of dropped for me. And then, the President's Trophy, when the Lightning won it in 2019, I was like, okay, we're like the best team ever. There's no way we don't win the Cup this year. Boom, swept in the first round. And that's definitely a superstition I believe in.
Yeah.
Is the President's Trophy. And any Tampa fan will tell you the same thing. It's very real. And Florida, they could have it. They can have it, because that just means that we don't have to really worry about them as much as we think we do.
Right. And I mean, not just hockey too, but I feel like a lot of sports, the best team in the league, more often than not, I feel like doesn't win at all. Like last year, who was it? The Dodgers, right? Or the Giants were really good. That's how sports is. And I feel like in hockey, even more so, because you have a lot of puck luck, you have overtime, sudden death, you have these factors that, sometimes favor against the so-called best team in the league. So I think just because you're the best team doesn't mean that you're going to be the best team when you need to be the best in those final 16 games wins. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have Florida winning this one. The President's Trophy curse won't really kick in quite yet, just because first round Capitals, and Capitals are good, not great, but they're good. And Florida again is probably as far as talent goes, they are the best team this year in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then you add people like Claude Giroux at the trade deadline, and it just makes them even deadlier.
Yeah. Right.
But, until Florida beats Tampa, which that's still ridiculous that's how that has to be worded. If Florida beats Tampa, then they can officially have the title of best Florida team, but they have to beat us to show it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys should be called Florida, and they should be called Miami.
Listen, last year I said, hey, whoever wins this series, they get to keep the Florida name, and so it should be the Miami Panthers and the Florida Lightning. That's what it should be, because we truly are the ones who represent the state of Florida. I mean, just take a look at the effing arena these past couple years down in Sunrise. Like I said, sea of blue. It's insane. But yeah, speaking of, if the Lightning and Panthers match up in the later rounds, that'll be really fun. I might just road trip down there. It's a 5-hour drive, almost, maybe 4.5. Might just do it for a game or two because that would be an insane series. But I have the Florida Panthers over the Capitals and probably like 5, maybe push it to 6, but definitely not 7. I don't think the Capitals really stand a chance here.
Yeah, I got it in 5. Maybe I said that earlier. I just think, one game might be given to the Capitals, like you said, but maybe 6, like you said. I definitely not 7. But yeah, it's definitely going to be the Panthers. Yep.
Yeah, and so now we move on to the Lightning and the Maple Leafs, and this is going to be an interesting one because the Lightning get to start their new campaign on the Cup defense for the 3rd year in a row, which is awesome, of course, for me. And it's I've been saying since the last season, like, okay, we could win back to back. Well, okay, I didn't think we'd win back to back because of how hard it is. But when we went back to back, when we won that 2nd in a row, I was like, okay, there's no way that we can win 3 in a row. It's never been done in the salary cap era. Just be appreciative of how this team has done these past 2 years. Be appreciative of how they're going to be competitive to continuously be competitive. But don't expect this to be an ongoing thing. Like, you have to just accept that your time will run out, and that's probably now. Not against the Maple Leafs, though, at least. I think we're beating the Maple Leafs. I think the Lightning can take this one in probably 6. I say Lightning in 6. It wouldn't surprise me if it goes to 7 either, because the Maple Leafs are a good team. They're a good competitive team. The Lightning have played the Maple Leafs twice in the month of April, so just these last 3 weeks. In the first meeting, Toronto beat the Lightning 6-2. That was not a fun game. In the second meeting, which was 2 weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago, the Lightning won 8-1. Now, Maple Leaf fans will tell you, oh, well, Austin Matthews didn't play. Okay, well, the Lightning didn't have Braden Point that game. So, I'm not saying that's like a fair comparison of skill, but they're both very important pieces to both teams' rosters, and so even if you have Austin Matthews, you're not winning 9-8. Okay, so that was you lost 8-1. Matthews or not, that's a tough loss for the Maple Leafs. Now, the Maple Leafs have not won a playoff series since I believe 2004, and so it's kind of this ongoing meme every single year that if whoever plays the Maple Leafs in the first round, that's the same thing. It's the equivalent of a first round bye. And I've already been seeing Lightning Twitter kind of getting cocky with it. Like, guys, we got a first round bye. Who we playing next? Kind of deal. But I'm not gonna be like that. Okay, this is not a team to overlook. The Maple Leafs, they already kicked our ass this month, and they are definitely capable of beating us. I mean, shit, they went up 3-1 against Montreal last playoff. I still can't believe they blew that series lead. I don't know how you do that, but it happened, and they were this close. They're on the brink, and with the talent that they have, I'm talking, you got Matthews. I mean, enough said. You got Austin Matthews. You should be able to win a playoff series, and I feel like their time is very close to where they get the spotlight for once. And I just hope that's not now. And I hope the Lightning don't lose to the Maple Leafs, because this is going to be like 2019 all over again, where, we were endlessly memed for winning the President's Trophy and then getting swept in the first round. Well, this would be oddly similar, because we would continuously get memed for allowing the Maple Leafs to win a first-round series. I mean, it's just, I don't want that to happen. I don't want to be that team. And I was kind of hoping that on the last day of games this season, I was kind of hoping that Boston won against whoever they were playing and the Lightning lost to the Islanders. Like, I was kind of rooting for that, because if that would have happened, we would have played Carolina instead. I don't want to risk this potential, we let the Maple Leafs win a first round game. I don't like the idea of that first round series. I don't like the idea of it. But the Lightning are definitely the most experienced team in this playoffs. I mean, how could they not be? They've won back-to-back cups. I think that they have a very strong shot against the Maple Leafs. Now, let me tell you one thing about the Lightning. These past 2 months, I've not liked what I've seen with this team. They went through a really, really rough stretch. A stretch so bad to where in 11 games in a row against playoff teams that they faced, their record was 1-10 in 11 games against playoff teams. They went 1-10, and that was a really tough stretch. And for a while there, I just kind of accepted that, hey, yeah, we'll make the playoffs, but it's not going to be good when we get there. However, in the last 6 games of the season, I'd say they've turned it around. In the last 6 games of the season, half against playoff teams, they went 5-1, and they outscored opponents 34-17, including an 8-1 win against Toronto, a 6-2 win against Nashville, an 8-1 win against Florida, the President's Trophy winners. 8 goals. We scored 8 goals on the President's Trophy winners.
Wow.
And ended their 13-game win streak that game. So that was a really, really big game for the Lightning to get that ball rolling. They would beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 4-1, which they're not a playoff team, not as impressive. And they would end their season on a 6-4 road win against the New York Islanders. So I'm sorry, Islander fans, that I have to bring this up, but this is the 3rd straight year that your final game of the season ended as a loss to Tampa. Anyways, so last 6 games, half against playoff teams, 34-17. We outscored a 3-0 record against those playoff teams. 3-0. I mean, these are some big teams. So I've built that false hope and confidence back up over this last stretch of games. You know, you go from 1-10 against playoff teams in 11 games to, you know, outscoring 34-17 your last 6. And putting an 8 spot up on not only Toronto but also Florida, and then a 6 spot on Nashville. They've been ridiculous. Steven Stamkos was by far the best player in the league in the month of April. He earned the first star of the week by the NHL in April. He had a hat trick to cap off his season against the Islanders. He's been scoring in practically every game. He's on, I believe, a 4 or 5 game streak where he has multiple points in the game. He just set a franchise record for most consecutive games with multiple points in the game. And so he's been, for whatever reason, Stamkos is only getting better with age. And you have to remember, in the 2020 playoffs, played 1 period of a game. And that was the Stanley Cup final, one of the Stanley Cup final games. He didn't play at all that season except for that 1 period. 1 shift, actually. He played that 1 shift. Anyways, last season, Stamkos was still continuing to battle injury. He was not fully healthy. This year, he's in full Stammer form for the first time since 2019. He is fully healthy, and he's going to be right up to par with Austin Matthews, I can tell you that much. And he's going to be fun to watch this playoffs. The Lightning, listen, the way I see it in sports is not about, you know, your record at the end of the season. It's about how you enter the playoffs. How are you performing entering the playoffs? Those are the best teams. And the Lightning are one of the best teams right now in the NHL going into the playoffs. And so I have the Lightning over the Maple Leafs in 6. I'm sorry I have to continue to talk, but this is my team we're talking here. I have the knowledge. I gotta drop the facts. Now I'm gonna let you speak a little bit. So let's go.
I think you really hit it. You really drove it home. I mean, I think it's going to be a competitive series, right? You have the Leafs, haven't won a playoff series in my lifetime. Is that it? Yeah, that's right.
2004.
And then you have the Lightning, who have run back-to-back cups. Now, you know, statistically, the Leafs have a better record, not by much, but, you know, I sort of think that it's sort of like an A's in the wild card thing, where it's just like when the playoffs come around, they're not prepared, they're not ready. And I think the Leafs are different this year. I think they're better than previous years. I think Austin Matthews I think he's the best player in hockey this year. But I think, honestly, I got it definitely going to 7 games. I think it's going to go to 7 games because similar to the Wild series, 2 and 3 playing each other, these teams had very similar records. I mean, the Leafs just won only 3 more games than you guys did. Based on what you've told me, though, like, it's been very much one-sided, like, when they play each other, at least the past 2 meetings. Yeah. And so I think, like, we're going to see a lot of, you know, good offense, and I honestly I think you guys are going to win in 7, just because I'm going to take the Stanley Cup defending champs over a team that is inexperienced like that. Not to say that like their players don't have what it takes, but I think as a collective team they haven't made it past the first round, and it clearly shows that they're not consistent enough to win a series. So I think Lightning in 7. I wouldn't at all if the Leafs won, just because it's a 7-game series and they're a very talented team. I think, they're definitely one of the best teams in the East, if not just all of the NHL. But the Lightning, they're experienced. They've been here many times. They've won back-to-back cups. Like you said, you have players back that you didn't have in previous years. And so, I got Lightning in 7. But I wouldn't be surprised if Toronto won the series. I mean, similar to some of the other ones. I just think both teams are very, very good. Both teams are similar in records, and it's definitely going to be a very good first round. I mean, I think whatever happens, like if the Maple Leafs win, like I think they could go all the way. If the Lightning win, I feel like they could go all the way. It's the kind of thing that the matchup is so good that the winner of this is going to be prepared for whatever is thrown at them next. So yeah, I got Lightning at 7.
Absolutely, you nailed that one, because this is one of the best, if not the best, first-round matchup of these playoffs. And so these are 2 cup-caliber teams in my eyes. And so once, it's not like Florida and Washington, where Florida is likely just going to win in 5, and then they have no experience with adversity in the playoffs yet. Whereas, where whoever comes out of the Lightning Maple Leafs series, that will be one of the toughest matchups that they will experience this playoff. So regardless of who they face in the next round, they're ready, they're prepared.
100%. I mean, yeah. I mean, really, just whatever comes out these teams, they'll have that remembrance of playing, a really competitive series in the first round. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Right on. Well, Boston and Carolina is our next series here. And this is going to be another really good one, in my opinion. I think this has the potential to go 7 as well. And I haven't really... Here, I'm going to look up the standings real quick here. I know Carolina won their division. I believe Boston was 4th in the Atlantic. But when you have 107 points in your 4th place in your division, that's how you know you're in a good division. Yeah. So definitely for sure this is going to be a fantastic series between the 2 teams. Hurricanes had 116 points. They had 116. That would put them at 3rd most points. So they in league standings they were 3rd place this year. They're a great team, and because of that, I got to say that they're going to win this series.
Who you got winning it? Sorry.
Carolina.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna just go with an upset here. I'm gonna say Boston in 7. And although Carolina has a much better record, I feel like Boston is just such a scary team. Like they have the capability of doing so much damage despite not having the pristine record, right? I mean, if you look at it, yeah, like you said, Carolina has 9 more points. They won only, though, 3 more games than the Bruins did. So, I mean, I think that's sort of the points don't tell the whole story there. I feel like Boston is definitely capable of winning this. If that being said, I have it going to 7 games. That being said, I mean, I think Boston, there's a reason they were 4th place. They did lose a lot of close games, but I also think the records are not far off. And like you said, the Bruins being 4th place with 51 wins and 107 points is almost comical. And you look at, the Hurricane division, where if you put, Boston there, they would be closer. It would be 3rd place, closer to 2nd. And so I think, I don't know the head-to-head history between these teams, but I'm going to go with an upset here. I'd say Boston in 7.
Boston in 7. Okay. Well, I mean, I think that this first round is very competitive. I think this first round has a lot of potential to have a lot of 7-game series. There's definitely going to be a 1 or 2 in there. It'd be surprised me if there wasn't, at least. But no, Carolina, they've been on the come-up for the last 3 years. They continuously get better by the year, I feel like. and they're just inching their way closer and closer to getting over that hump by the year. Yeah. And I think their campaign's going to be a strong one this year, so I got them over Boston in either 6 or 7. No more, no less.
Sounds good.
And then we go into the final series of the first round. We have the Penguins and the New York Rangers. Now, the Rangers are easily the surprise team out of the East this year. They went from being garbage to suddenly being something. And so they actually had 110 points, finished second place in the Metropolitan behind the Hurricanes. And they are not a bad team this year. It's surprising because they've sucked in recent years.
Yeah, I got New York. I'm just going to say it clearly. I got New York winning this series because, one, they were better against Pittsburgh this year, and two, I don't know if you saw, but Pittsburgh sort of down the stretch at the end of the year didn't really play all that good. They lost a lot of those games towards the end. And I, like you said, I think, the year doesn't really matter as much as how you come into the playoffs. And if you're coming in on, a losing, I mean, I guess it's not a losing streak, but they played like 500 hockey in their last 10, which I think was sort of, not where they needed to be. Whereas the Rangers had a stronger end of the season. And I just think the Rangers are kind of hot right now and they're pretty good. And they also had a better record than Pittsburgh. That being said, I got it going to 6. I got New York winning in 6.
Well, based on that info, I'd have to say New York as well. The one thing I'm skeptical of is the fact that this is their first time in the playoffs with this new young core. And
that's true.
The inexperience could definitely play a factor here. Whereas you have the Penguins, you have Chris Letang and Sidney Crosby. These guys who just went back-to-back a couple of years ago. They have that experience.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at the head-to-head this year between the Rangers and the Penguins. They played 4 games. The Rangers won 3 out of the 4. And the only Penguins win was a 1-0 win. Very, very close game. And you have the Rangers who had a 5-1 win, a 3-2 win, and a 3-0 win. So the Rangers just seem to have the Penguins number this year.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
The experience and the inexperience play a factor in the series? Absolutely, it could. That being said, I think the Rangers are going to get it done in this series, just based on how they've played against the Penguins already this year.
Yeah, I usually don't think that head-to-head matchups will tell the whole story, but the fact that they won 3 out of 4 and they were very close to winning 4 out of 4, I don't know. I just think New York is stronger overall, but I do agree. I think the inexperience could lose them 2 games, and that's why I have it going to 6.
Absolutely. Well, that's it as far as first round goes. It's going to be an interesting one. I can't believe it starts tomorrow or today, depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah.
This is the start of something new. And I'm just saying right now, I'll tell you what, even in 2019 when the Lightning got swept in the first round, I still watched almost every single hockey game that year because it is very true, the saying that there is nothing like playoff hockey. It is so entertaining regardless of who's playing. It's so intense, so fast-paced and physical. It's a new season. It's always a new season. And it's regardless of what happens, Lightning can get swept. It's going to be a fun playoff to watch, and as it has been every single year.
Yeah, 100%. As someone who hasn't had a team in the playoffs for the past 3 seasons, I can totally agree. Even to that extreme, just watching it as someone who doesn't have really a dog in the fight, it's very exciting. Just the atmosphere, the very much the intensity involved, and the high stakes environment of overtime is sudden death, and then also the factor of home ice advantage, how important it is, and so I'm very excited, even though I don't have a team in it for 3 years in a row. So, that's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, it's playoff hockey. It's going to be interesting no matter what.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Warriors will keep you occupied at least for the next couple of weeks. So,
definitely,
at least you have that to make up for the Sharks. So, yeah. Well, with that being said, that's going to do it for this first round preview with my brother over here, Casey, and we'll catch you in a week and a half, 2 weeks when the second round starts. It's gonna be a long playoff, and I am looking forward to it. Go Bolts, man! Go Bolts! We're going for that three-peat, and the campaign for it starts tomorrow. So let's get it. That's all I got. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Catch you in the next one. Peace out.